construction. Service industry are the one that generating the lowest return. Entry to barrier is almost negligible. And return-wise, unless you're in finance or IT, is very low. F&B, wholesale retail, all kind of service education. The margin is very small. What I'm trying to get and drive the point is, while I want to address this Muslim issues of this wakaf and zakat, we are looking at about 90% in my growth. Now, what is the total contributions of all this to the country economy? It's about 37%. Now, target is about 41% by 2020. How much are the Muslims of Brazil booming, contributing for it? 9%. Now, back, look, my growth is 300,000 per annum. You need gross revenue, annual sale. That is about 25,000 a month. Kalau 25,000 a month, you'll be a gross. How much are you making net? Mana kalau saya tolak overhead, kata lagi nak, let's take for simple lah. You make a 50% gross margin. Yeah, ini revenue gross margin 50%. So you got 12,500. You pay rental, pay overhead, you pay one or two employees. What do you left with? Maybe about 5,000, 6,000 ringgit. Itu kalau dapat 35,000 ringgit a month. I mean, you are already at the brim of the maximum micro before you go into the small. What I'm trying to get at is 90% of orang Islam dekat negara ini are actually in this bracket. So bermakna, if you want to take wakaf, you got to go to wakaf in a really, really powerful way. And that calls for support, and that calls for it to be institutionalized. If the mechanic and dynamics of it, that one is administrative operational. It is the real understanding of this power of this instrument. It is beyond this banking. So this is what it is right now. Why? Because it is what it is. This is the reality of things right now. And that is the reason why, regardless of how much money you put in, you are bound to be like this. This worries us because we also mandated to contribute towards moving these people out to go into small. But they're so comfortable there that they don't seem to want to go out. So people yang dapat daripada Amal Ikhtiar Malaysia ni, you got to graduate to come to SME Bank or at least to BUND. But they seem to be so comforting in the zone of getting 10 to 20,000 ringgit of loan. I mean, macam main kutu. You cannot move the economy of the ummah if you're going to do like that. You cannot. Tak boleh. Lepas tu kita blame government, blame segala apa, except Osam. Everybody is wrong, except Osam. So you cannot. So that's why when I take this one, and I look, this is actually the real landscape. Ini bumi, if you take maybe 10% lah itu lah. Sama Sarawak, Catalan, those Christian, etc. Those are all the Muslims. This is their territory. And this is current. This is Psalm 11 verse 10. It's current. You cannot be wrong. Right? You Google, you get all this data. Okay? So then you look. This is what I was trying to share with you. Now, kalau kita tengok government report, dengan report ni bukan I cari sangat ni. Because government report kadang-kadang dia masukkan state agency, dia masukkan GLC sebagainya. How can you just camouflage all the data like that? They put it at 30%. Sorry lah, ini PM department kita jalan all kind of report ni, kadang-kadang dia masukkan all this. But by you separate them, you got something like only 9%. Jadi bagaimana? The target is 50%. Tall order. I doubt that you do this one. Because you look at the bottom 14, kita ada bottom 14 and middle 14, top 20 kan. So the bottom 14 are largely Melayu, largely Malays. So something that is done. Tapi to say that government has not done something, well, tak betul ya. Which I will share with you tadi. Right? How much the government has really contributed. So but my point to all of us here, I don't have the answer. I'm just here to share some thoughts, and I want to scratch things our head together. What could it be? What else could be done? Because this one seems to be worrying. And you talk about perkasa kan ekonomi putra. I mean, what perkasa ekonomi putra benda? This is the facts. What really is bothering me and sometimes really tickled me, bila ada 15 cabinet ministers having achieved 100% of their KPI towards empowering the micro economy. So what KPI have you achieved really? But this is the reality of it. It is not from me, it is from published report. So something is not right somewhere when you talk about the KPIs have been achieved, and yet the contribution is still way off from the target. So what KPI are you talking about? That all the ministries have achieved 100% KPI. 2015, the KPI 100%, man. Oh. But at least we have got access to some of the people out there, then we try to share. We have been engaging with many of these people to say, look, let's be real. Let's be real. And there is a gap, there is a financing gap between what is really required and again what is really given by all the banks. You think banks want to give to SMEs? No. Banks and they will allocate, probably they will allocate a certain amount of their portfolio for the SME. Why? SME is considered as a very high risk sector. Right? Nanti saya kata tadi about 4 out of 5, betul lah? 80% of all the startup will fail in the first 5 years. And then 20% that survive will also fail in the next 3 years. Right? So you got 100, so only 20 will survive. Out of that 20 plus, another 16 will fail in the next 3 years, in the 8th year. That's common statistic globally. But to me, if you approach it structurally, that will when you look at the people, we look at those who succeed, they can also multiply. But the situation right now is like this. I don't want to bore you with this one, with some of the statistics, but the challenges remain to be the same. Challenges remain to be the same. It's all the same. At the moment right now, the SMEs in the market is really, very, you know, the GST impact upon the SMEs is really terrible in terms of its cash flow. I give a simple example of what the real cash flow issue is. Let's say you are a wholesale retailer. Let's say you operate small market, and you get your supplies. When you get your supply from the supplier, what do? You have to pay them. They can give you credit term for about a month or so, maybe 2 weeks. You got to pay them. And you pay them, you pay with the GST. But you'll be collecting your GST. But when will you collect your GST? When you sell to the ultimate consumers. But you don't sell to the consumers immediately, right? So there's a gap between the time that you collect the GST from the ultimate consumer to the time that you actually having to pay outright the contingent to the suppliers. There's a gap down there. So it's still taking a lot of time. Ini belum masuk lagi in the construction industry, where you buy all the bricks, the mortar, the cement, the pasir and the steel, etc. You're paid outright. Where if you go to that, they pass over to the ultimate consumer, and the price of housing will go up. Because you got to cover all this. So I think it's really. And now unemployment, people not getting entrepreneurs. Everybody wants to become entrepreneurs. Why? Because they are not able to get employed. 1 out of 4 of the graduates, including this university, are unemployed. You know how many thousands of graduates we produce in a year? More than 70 university colleges in this country right now. About 75, I think, 74 in this country. You are only one of them. Right? Sama sekali yang baru graduate. It's more than about 500,000 graduate every year. 48% employed. 20% for their studies, because they couldn't afford to get a job or something. But another 25% would just loiter around. After 1 month, 3 months, they send out 100 applications. Hardly caught one interview. What do you do? But what? 40 months. Mereka menjaga. Menjaga not because they want to menjaga. Menjaga because they cannot secure any job. And this is the whole issue. And then you knock country ada dia door, tadi mana duit wakaf ni nak jadi usahawan. Ini dah menghancurkan the wakaf system. You're able to cut to be entrepreneur, but you want to be entrepreneur. Without knowing what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur. You see that there, see, an entrepreneur is not only a business operator, but it's a value creator. right? It's a people developer. It's an innovator. It's a well aggregator. It's a risk taker. It mitigates risk. It's concerned with the environment. And there are several types of entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs born out of necessity or entrepreneurs born out of opportunity. Right? So what we want to get entrepreneurs out of opportunity that can really create a social disruptor to the whole thing. And now we come to the last part, which is financing of the SMEs in the country. Now, I don't want to, I will skip this one because these are all the executions in the economy that really supporting funding of the SMEs. But what I want to show you is more interesting of this one. You think, oh, tadi you tahu what is micros kan? And 90% of the money is what is micros. Look at this one. Look at the one that's securing financing from the bank. As again, personal saving, main butuh, pinjam kawan, pinjam mak bapak, pinjam dara-mara. This one. Almost 60%. These are micros. Largely 90%. My worry is that one walk-up is a very strong instrument if it is not addressed in a holistic way. Because walk-up is only the financing mechanism. But there are other issues that I mentioned earlier that this is mindset issues and the capacity and capability issues. Right? So you've got to go into the whole ecosystem. It cannot be just one of the elements. This is the reality of things. So if you move up and become medium, then this one goes up. Obviously, yang ini, terus akan nak audit report, account payment tak ada. You dapat loan from the bank, you can't. So they will remain at micros, and you will go round and round and round. You will perpetuate everything. And that is why after all these years, and look, the kind of agencies that really supporting them, is all the agencies that really supporting them. SME Bank is one of them. All these agencies supporting them. And it's very difficult because there is a lot of transactional costs, risk issues, etc., etc. So the time is running up. I can share with you this later. But these are exactly. But when you look at why are SME application rejected, we did a study also why it's rejected. We noticed that because they don't even know what they are talking about. 42% respondents seek loan for existing business. Why are they actually rejected? Largely because of what? Because they don't even know. The old business plans are all out. Really. Okay. Now I look at the forecast issue about just one thing before. Ini probable, I'm going to say probable values. I tried to look at the last 20 years, RMK 7, 8, 9, 10, and RMK. When you look at every of the RMK, you will see that dia punya OPEC and dia punya CAPEX, dia punya development expenditures and operating expenditures. I'm not talking about budget, I'm talking about the ranking nation. You look and you just compute that. So supply and services will take up about all these things are actually published data. It's not coming from it, all published data. When you look at all these things, right, this is what I'm sharing with you. Pergi kepada mana ni? You know why? You know why all these things happen? Because the government is really operating the whole country. This political system is very much into this patronage style, right? So when you give and dish out all this, it's very much distributive in nature. It does not address growth. It does not address development. It's distributive in the sense that you dish out, okay, bagaimana contract what sekolah, contract what bridge, contract what hospital, contract what laundry for the whole country, hospital, etc. These are distributive. But it doesn't look at the whole overall economic system. That's why in the construction book you see SPC theater, you see I-property, you see TTDR. You don't see. You narapkan MK dan tu you can't do that. Right? It's called such thing. And this is where I was looking at the gap between what the SMEs requires and the gap is what we have right now. We're talking about 430 billion ringgit. You think Wakaf can be all able to offer that? It's about 338 billion ringgit for this year alone. So that there's more than just financing, because you've got to be looking at scalability and capabilities. If you want to compete in the open market, these are the two things that you need to be looking at. And you look at at these things, what could be offered? I'm proposing crowdfunding in the spirit of sugar. Now, you give walk-up, there are several types of walk-up anyway, right? Several types of walk-up. You can have walk-up party, you have walk-up. I'm talking about walk-up is married, which is walk-up meant for investment, which I will share with you after this. Right? But it can also be looked in the form of a crowdfunding, but you took these elements of the existing crowdfunding because dia tak boleh dengan fund saja, dia juga mesti dengan structured and focused approach toward development. Otherwise, you will be addressing a temporary issues. But in mid-term, long-term, you're going back to my one value. And there's so many parties now involved. These are all about involved in African development. Right? Sometimes this one is also another issue, overlapping. And many of these are getting grants, they're giving out grants. And you know, today I can go to Magic, I can get $500,000 grant. I feel either I can go to mine or I can go to PNB. And you think they're checking the data? No, they don't share data. And after that, I go back to SME Corp, I buy another grant, 100,000. And then 6 months down the line, I feel I go to Mara. And maybe I go to NDEC. So each one of these have their own grant. I'm not talking about 1 to million, you know. I'm talking about hundreds and hundreds of million grants given to the same party over and over and over again. Sometimes it's sickening, sometimes it's the more you understand, the more you know it, the more you feel, what's going on really. Alright, anyway, let's go to this last bit, which I could just offer you. Right? So, and I think you know what walk-up is. Walk-up is walk-up is walk-up is the one that contribute, is mean stop. It won't go from over to stop. Stand still, go. Right? So in other words, once you give, you cannot take it back. That's about it. So I think, I'm not sure how you want to really consume zakat, because apart from feasibility, I'm not sure which of the asana that you can be employing. But let us look at this zakat recipients of all this asana is very much spelled out very clear. So I really want to get the graph to really share with me where do you think this, all of this can really be employed. Very interesting. But let's look at the very type of workup. I think workup Khairi and Sabil and Ali and all of it, except for Ali, because it's very much meant for survival of the family, etc. But Khairi and Sabil are all for the public. But what is not here is actually Waqaf al-Mubashshar and Waqaf al-Ijmari. Waqaf al-Ijmari is the one that's meant for investment. It's something that you control and own, the growth of fund is meant for investment opportunities, where the investment generates return and meant for another form of investment. So for example, we give you a sum of money for you to generate certain economic activity, and the economic activity you then generate return and you can plow it back and back and back. Something like another version of the endowment fund. We could be really. But then again, when you look at the amount of zakat vis-a-vis of wakaf, let's look at it. We got about 1.2 billion. And just now I was telling you the shortfall is 300 over billion. So where are we talking about now? And 300 over billion is for the movies, not for the SMEs. Still about 1.2 billion. What do you want to do? These are all the real. These are the sources from. This is a collection of zakat. I mean, if wakaf contribution could be some glimpse of reflections of what we are showing here, then you can know what kind of wakaf we could generate. I'm not sure about the wakaf, the amount, but basically it's what it is. And then interestingly, I think perhaps this might have been discussed by some of you, but this is something that I found out through the internet. Somebody was offering this. But it's very, very simplistic model that may not be looking at the whole thing. Where you say, well, you can have this walk-up donors, and then we can set up the walk-up institution, and we provide these two approaches of funding and capacity development for the micro. But I've also told you what kind of micros will be contributing to the development of the Muslim SMEs, etc., etc. So this is an issue that we really have to think. But I believe in what I mentioned earlier about the 5 issue that we need to really address such increment toward elevating the issue of confronting the SMEs. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum.
Thank you very much, Sheikh Azali. I think there's so much of information there, but we gave him only 35, 40 minutes to present, so that may have been a bit of injustice also. But it means that we have the basis to have future session again to go into some of the details. Before we open for comments and Q&A, I also agree with what was mentioned by the Sheikh now, in that it's not only the financing in which Wakaf can play a role, or at least not in the financing that we mean, that means to give the financing to the SME, but for example, the human resource development part. That activity could be financed by Wakaf, right? Similarly, those 5 or 6 issues or factors that are affecting the development of SMEs, one of them is financing per se. Yes, of course, Wakaf could be a source of financing, but also the other items. And the reason I say it is because in our model that we did for Wakaf and microfinance, we found that while Wakaf can be used to help reduce the cost of funding for the microfinance institution, we can also provide the training for the microfinance recipients. So similarly, for the SME, the micro, the 90% of Bumi Putra, if you're talking about Bumi Putra micro enterprises, we could provide training for them if that is one of the areas, rather than providing the funds. Maybe the funds can come partially from SME bank or any other institution, including Wakf funding, but other things. So with that very brief comment, can we open up for some comments or queries, etc. Just one more point. Brother Hendek is our PhD student, and he has some slides also on some formal models. So I hope that both of our speakers will open for Q&A, and we'll give him about 20 minutes to present his model, which maybe some of you can comment on whether it makes sense what he's proposing. But we'll have some Q&A for this presentation, maybe for the next 15 to 20 minutes, and then we give Hendek his chance to present the model. So please, comments or questions, especially for, I think, the second presentation. Yes, Jasmine.
Assalamu alaikum. I just would like to have one question. Let's say when we saw the percentage of Bumi contribution and then the non-Bumi, if we think the other way, let's say maybe the non-Bumi are growing faster, so they're taking in percentage-wise, higher percent. So that's what reduces. But in terms of real numbers, is there growth of the Bumi, enterprises and SMEs? Is there growth?
Well, yes. Okay. Obviously, there must be some growth. Otherwise, it cannot be just static like that. But one is increasing at an increasing rate, and the other one is increasing at a decreasing rate. So when one, you have to look at all the parameters, okay? So when you are increasing at an increasing rate, you get a lot of catch-up that need to be done. So both are increasing, and one is at a faster and one at a slower rate. So they can get bigger. In fact, when you compare all the GNI of all the major races, the Muslim are at the lowest, including the Indian. If you look at the Jomo's latest report, I think late last year, when she just drew up. So I tried to, perhaps I said, perhaps this report is because you include the rural folks. So when you omit the rural folk, you take only all the urban GNI, still the Chinese, the Indian, and the lower rung would be the Muslims. Okay. So in other words, when you correlate that with the economy, then you look at these are increasing at an increasing rate. And
numbers, but as a percentage of GDP, it's not, it's not growing as much as you would like. Yeah. Yes. Yes, please.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Regarding accountability for small business enterprise, they have problem with the financial access because they don't have a financial document. For instance, like financial reporting. Based on the Bank of SMA, what is the basic minimum for the small business to give the document to the the Bank of SME? Because based on the literature, they don't have a good, they're lacking of knowledge to make a good or good financial reporting. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Can you just introduce who you are so that we have it for recording?
My name is Rahma from accounting.
Okay, thank you very much, Rahman. Ya begini, when you talk about credit evaluation, it's all the same for any financial institution, right? Tapi I want to highlight one thing, and trust me, whatever little years that I've spent, I noticed that this is the one that will override all others, and that is the character. The character of the prospective applicant will override everything. And these credit people at the bank, they somehow have got this element of being able to read body language because they've been down there for 30 years, 25 years, etc. You know your student from their body language, if they're telling the truth or trying to cook up certain stories, they can tell, right? Same thing with people at the bank. Your body language, your flow, your history, etc. will tell you 1,000 things, number one. Number two, recorded historical data about yourself with other bank, other financial institution, because it's all there in secret, it's recorded in all of their sources of information. So if your characters indicate that you are not a worthy borrower, regardless of whatever collateral you have down there, people will look at it, right? Now, obviously, documents like this accounting report is a necessary condition, but it's not a sufficient condition. Like they are in economic, right? So it is necessary, but it's not sufficient. So there's a lot of other things. But even if we don't have the basic necessary, then what is that? That's why micro need. What I matter about micros, even some of the small ones, record keeping. One of the biggest problems among SME, especially the Malays, are record keeping. Dan dia ambil lah budak-budak daripada diploma, benda daripada di college mana ke mana ke sebagainya, tak tahu benda. Asking bayar gaji RM1,600. Kalau dia locate nak bayar gaji. They're very stingy, sorry lah. You all mesti belajar cakap Melayu sikit lah. Right? Dia locate nak bayar gaji. To engage qualified accountant, take care of their business. And in the end, mereka melelong lah. So record keeping not there. They don't understand P&L cash flow, etc. The records are not in order. Leave alone auditing. That's what it was. So when the bank look, imagine for a moment, imagine for a moment. Whatever the system was, Rahman, let's say that you got 1 million ringgit. Let's say for a moment that you got 1 million ringgit. I don't know you, don't know me, right? So I come to you now, Sis Rahman, I need 200,000 from you. But I give you all the document to assure you that it will generate me 30% return. I'll pay you back your 200,000 in 6 months' time, plus the return of, say, 50% of what I get. Now, your money though, your money. 1 million, your money. You want to fork out 200,000. What do you think would be your first reaction? Because you put your position is to put that money. What do you think would you be doing to part away 200,000 of your hard-earned money or 1 million to give me? You don't even know me. But I've got a real potential business now, can generate 30% return. What would you do? You will scream me up and down, high and low, left and right, until you don't know what else, right? You will strip me, right? Because you want to make sure that you really understand whether I'm telling the truth. Even if I told you the truth, you want to check whether the viability, what I claim, is really correct. Likewise, the bank. want to go to the bank, susah dan sebagainya. You put yourself because you're accountable. You know, for every non-performing loan, the officer will be gone. What happened, etc. So that also another G3 you want to make sure. Okay, now, so you put yourself in that situation.